Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Or Sean Diddy Combs.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy is not coming home.
Imagine a man at the pinnacle of fame and power. A man whose name was synonymous with success, luxury, and the unstoppable rise of hip-hop culture. Sean P. Diddy Combs wasn't just a producer. He was a mogul, a pioneer, and a kingmaker. For decades, he built an empire that seemed untouchable, a glittering fortress of fame that made him one of the most recognizable figures in the world. But what happens when the very foundations of that empire begin to crack? What happens when the spotlight turns from admiration to scrutiny, and the king of bad boy records is forced to face the ghosts of his past? Sean Combs wasn't always the man we now know as Diddy. Born in Harlem in 1969, he was the son of a teacher and a man whose life was cut short by violence. At just 2 years old, Sean's father, Melvin Combs, was murdered in a drug deal gone wrong. This loss left an indelible mark on young Sean, shaping the man he would become. Raised by his mother, Janice, Sean learned early on the importance of resilience and hard work. But he wasn't content with simply surviving. He wanted more, much more. After attending Howard University, though he didn't graduate, Sean's relentless drive brought him to Uptown Records as an unpaid intern. It didn't take long for his talent and ambition to shine. Sean had an uncanny ability to spot talent and craft hits. At Uptown, he helped launch the careers of artists like Mary J. Blige and Jodeci, blending street grit with a polished sound that was revolutionary for its time. But Sean wasn't just an employee. He was a force of nature, and that force soon clashed with Uptown's leadership, leading to his dismissal in 1993. For most people, getting fired might be a setback. For Sean Combs, it was the beginning of an empire. In the same year, he founded Bad Boy Records, and almost immediately he began to reshape the music industry. His first major signing was Christopher Wallace, better known as the notorious Big with Biggie as its centerpiece. Bad Boy Records became a powerhouse. The hits came fast and furious: Juicy, Big Papa, and One More Chance. Bad Boy wasn't just a label, it was a movement. Its glossy visuals, opulent music videos, and larger-than-life personas set a new standard in hip-hop. And at the center of it all was Sean Combs, now known as Puff Daddy. By the mid-1990s, Puff Daddy was a household name. He wasn't just producing hits, he was creating a lifestyle. Lavish parties, expensive suits, and a persona that screamed success. Sean Combs embodied the American dream. He expanded his brand with clothing lines like Sean John, liquor brands, and even his own TV shows. Puff Daddy had it all, or so it seemed. But even in those early years, there were cracks in the facade. In 1991, a tragedy occurred that would foreshadow future controversies. Combs organized a celebrity basketball game at City College of New York, a high-profile event meant to showcase his influence. But poor planning led to overcrowding, and when chaos erupted, 9 people were killed in a stampede. Although Combs wasn't criminally charged, questions were raised about his responsibility and judgment. The incident was a stark reminder that ambition without foresight can have devastating consequences. As Bad Boy Records grew, so did tensions with its West Coast rival, Death Row Records. The rivalry, fueled by media hype, egos, and a hunger for dominance, escalated into one of the darkest chapters in hip-hop history. Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur of Death Row became embroiled in a bitter feud with Combs and the notorious Big. The war of words and diss tracks spiraled into real-world violence, culminating in the murder of Tupac in 1996 and Biggie in 1997. The loss of Biggie was a devastating blow to Bad Boy and to Combs personally. Though he wasn't implicated in the crime, the fallout from the East Coast-West Coast feud cast a long shadow over his legacy. Despite the tragedy, Combs found a way to keep moving forward. In 1997, he released his debut album, No Way Out, which included the Grammy-winning single I'll Be Missing You, a tribute to Biggie. The album was a massive success, solidifying his status as a star in his own right. But as the years went on, controversies and allegations began to pile up, hinting at a darker side to the man behind the brand. The turning point came in 1999 during a now infamous nightclub shooting in New York City. Combs, along with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and rapper Shine, was at Club New York when gunfire erupted, injuring 3 people. Shine was convicted of attempted murder and served nearly a decade in prison. Combs, however, managed to avoid jail time, though the incident tarnished his reputation. Rumors swirled about what really happened that night, and questions lingered about the lengths Combs went to protect himself. As the 2000s unfolded, Sean Combs continued to expand his empire. From his clothing line Sean John to his partnership with Ciroc Vodka, he seemed unstoppable. But behind the scenes, a pattern was emerging. One of control, manipulation, and exploitation. Over the years, numerous artists signed to Bad Boy Records would come forward with stories of unfair contracts, broken promises, and careers left in ruins. Names like Macy, The Lox, and Danity Kane became synonymous with the darker side of Bad Boy's success. While Combs amassed a fortune, many of his artists were left with little to show for their efforts. And then, there were the personal allegations. Over the years, a series of women came forward accusing Combs of abuse and predatory behavior. Most notably, his longtime girlfriend and protege, Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit accusing him of years of physical, emotional, and SA. The details of the allegations were harrowing. Controlling behavior, threats of violence, and acts of intimidation designed to keep her under his control. While Combs has denied these claims, the lawsuit has cast a long shadow over his legacy, prompting brands and collaborators to distance themselves from him. In addition to the personal scandals, Combs' business dealings have also come under scrutiny. Allegations of financial mismanagement, unpaid debts, and unethical practices have surfaced, painting a picture of an empire built on shaky ground. As more and more former associates speak out, the once glittering image of Sean Combs has begun to crumble. But let's not forget one crucial detail. Sean P. Diddy Combs wasn't just a businessman. He wasn't just an artist. He was a cultural architect. From the streets of Harlem to the runways of Paris, his influence extended far beyond music. He created trends, launched careers, and built bridges between hip-hop and mainstream America. For decades, Diddy wasn't just part of the conversation. He was leading it. Which is why his fall from grace feels like more than just a personal reckoning. It feels like the unraveling of an era. To truly understand the weight of Diddy's downfall, we need to look at the ripple effects. Start with the artists who trusted him, the ones who signed with Bad Boy Records believing they were stepping into a dream, only to find themselves stuck in what some have called a nightmare contract. Artists like The Lox fought publicly to be released from their contracts, alleging they were being exploited financially. Macy, one of Bad Boy's most successful artists, has openly criticized Combs for withholding royalties and refusing to sell him back the rights to his own music. And these aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a pattern that has haunted Bad Boy for years. Consider this. While Diddy was becoming a billionaire, launching brands, and living in luxury, many of his former artists were left struggling to make ends meet. How could the man who once declared himself a champion of the culture turn his back on the very people who helped build his empire? This question lies at the heart of Diddy's legacy, and it's one his critics won't let him forget. And then there's the cultural impact. For years, Diddy was the face of black excellence in the entertainment industry. He wasn't just making money, he was breaking barriers. He brought hip-hop into boardrooms and showed a generation of artists that they could be moguls, not just performers. But as the allegations against him mount, that legacy is being called into question. What does it mean to celebrate someone's success if that success was built on exploitation? Can we separate the art from the artist, or does Diddy's alleged behavior taint everything he's accomplished? The accusations against Diddy have also sparked a broader conversation about accountability in the entertainment industry. For too long, power and fame have shielded influential figures from facing the consequences of their actions. But in the age of social media, where information travels faster than ever, those shields are starting to crack. The allegations against Diddy aren't just a personal scandal, they're part of a larger reckoning in music, where the old rules no longer apply and even the most powerful figures can be held accountable. Yet, for all the controversy surrounding Diddy, there's another layer to this story: the fans. For millions of people, Diddy isn't just a celebrity, he's a symbol of perseverance, a man who turned tragedy into triumph and made the impossible possible. His music has soundtracked weddings, parties, and late-night drives. His fashion has inspired countless imitators, and his story has motivated a generation of dreamers to believe that they, too, could rise above their circumstances. This connection with his audience is what makes Diddy's downfall so complicated. On one hand, the allegations against him are deeply troubling and demand serious scrutiny. On the other hand, his influence on music, fashion, and culture is undeniable. How do we reconcile these two truths? Is it possible to appreciate what he's built while condemning what he's done? Or does his downfall demand a complete reevaluation of his legacy? As the lawsuits and allegations against Sean P. Diddy Combs continue to make headlines, the tension surrounding his future reaches a boiling point. The man who once controlled the narrative with a deft hand now finds himself at the mercy of it. Every new headline, every social media post, every whispered accusation adds fuel to a fire that shows no signs of burning out. For years, Diddy was the master of reinvention, the ultimate comeback artist. But now, The question isn't whether he can reinvent himself again, it's whether the damage is too great for any comeback to succeed. To understand the stakes, let's examine the forces aligned against him. The allegations from Cassie Ventura aren't just a personal matter. They represent a tidal wave of reckoning for a man who built his empire on controlling his image and his relationships. The details of her lawsuit paint a chilling picture: years of emotional manipulation, physical abuse, and alleged acts of violence. These aren't the kinds of accusations that can be easily dismissed or buried with a public relations campaign. They're deeply personal, visceral, and powerful. Cassie's story isn't just about her, it's about the systemic abuse of power in an industry that has allowed such behavior to go unchecked for far too long. But Cassie's allegations are only the beginning. Her lawsuit has emboldened others to come forward, creating a domino effect that threatens to dismantle the very foundation of Diddy's empire. Former employees, artists, and associates are stepping into the spotlight, each adding their voices to the growing chorus of dissent. And as these stories emerge, a clearer picture of Sean Combs begins to take shape. Not the polished, larger-than-life persona he presented to the world, but the flawed, deeply complicated man behind the facade. The fallout isn't just legal, it's cultural. Diddy has long positioned himself as a leader in the black community, a symbol of perseverance and success. He has spoken at rallies, donated millions to social causes, and used his platform to advocate for change. But the allegations against him threaten to undermine that legacy. How can a man who has allegedly inflicted so much harm on others claim to be a voice for justice and equality? The dissonance between his public persona and the private allegations against him is stark, and it's forcing many of his supporters to reconsider their loyalty. The tension extends to the business world as well. For years, Diddy's empire was a carefully constructed machine, with multiple revenue streams feeding into his billion-dollar brand. From his clothing line Sean John to his Ciroc vodka partnership, every aspect of his business was designed to project success and luxury. But as the scandals mount, that image is beginning to crumble. Brands that once clamored to associate themselves with Diddy are now distancing themselves, fearful of the potential fallout. His once loyal allies in the entertainment industry are growing silent, unwilling to risk their own reputations by defending him. The collapse of Diddy's empire is as much about perception as it is about fact. In the world of celebrity and business, reputation is everything. And once that reputation is tarnished, it can be nearly impossible to repair. Sean Combs built his career on being larger than life, on being the man who could do no wrong. But now he finds himself in a position he has rarely experienced: vulnerable, exposed, and increasingly isolated. His rise and fall are emblematic of a larger cultural shift, one in which power and privilege are no longer enough to shield individuals from accountability. The Me Too movement and other social justice initiatives have changed the landscape of celebrity, making it clear that even the most powerful figures can be held to account for their actions. But Diddy's story is also a deeply personal one. For all his success, he is a man haunted by his past, the loss of his father at a young age, the deaths of close friends and collaborators like the notorious Biggie, and the constant pressure to maintain his empire have undoubtedly shaped him in profound ways. In interviews, Diddy has often spoken about his struggles with loneliness and vulnerability, hinting at the pain that lies beneath the surface. These glimpses into his psyche add complexity to his story, reminding us that even the most larger-than-life figures are, at their core, human. As we reach the climax of this story, the tension is almost unbearable. The once unstoppable mogul now finds himself at the mercy of forces he can no longer control. The lawsuits, the allegations, the public backlash. They are all converging in a perfect storm that threatens to destroy everything he has built. And as the world watches, one question looms larger than all the others. What will Sean P. Diddy Combs do next? The answer to that question may determine not just the future of his career, but the legacy he leaves behind. Will he fight to clear his name, doubling down on the narrative of innocence he has maintained thus far? Or will he rot away in a jail cell for the rest of his life? For those who have followed his career, this moment feels surreal. Sean Combs was more than a mogul. He was a symbol of resilience, a man who seemed capable of overcoming any obstacle. But as his empire crumbles and the truth comes to light, we are reminded that no one is truly untouchable, not even Diddy. And so, we are left with the final lingering question. How will history remember Sean P. Diddy Combs? Will he be celebrated as a visionary who transformed the music industry, or condemned as a man whose ambition and power led to his ultimate downfall? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between, a reminder that greatness is often accompanied by flaws, and that the legacy we leave behind is shaped as much by our failures as by our successes. The story of Sean Combs is far from over. But as the dust settles and the empire he built lies in ruins, one thing is clear: the world is watching, and the man who once seemed untouchable now finds himself at the mercy of time, truth, and the weight of his own choices.